A very good Saturday to everybody. Hope you're having a good day and a good weekend so far. Thanks for clicking on to Vogan's European Outlook for Saturday, the 6th of August. And really, the biggest story on the weather headlines at the moment, I believe, is the lack of rainfall in the driest areas of the British Isles. Like I said, recently, really from about, I would say, the Midlands, north and west isn't too bad in terms of precipitation, but it's of course as you head kind of south of Birmingham, and particularly south of the M4 corridor here between Bristol and London, I think is really the area that we are most concerned about. And it looks as if that, according to the GFS at least, this is the accumulated precipitation in millimeters, and you can see here if I play through this loop. Now, of course, the important aspect is the date up here. Of course, this is the southern half of the British Isles, as I'm sure pretty much everybody is aware of. But you can see here as we play through the total accumulated precipitation for the next couple of weeks, really, there is literally no rain to speak about in this region of the world. In fact, more or less, the majority of England and Wales doesn't see any form of rainfall, measurable rain at least, until we get to the middle portion of August here. And then as we continue to play through the loop, you can see how the southern half of the British Isles, really from Cornwall all the way to Kent, up into Suffolk, Norfolk, even southern portions of Lincolnshire. Very, very, very little in the way of rainfall as we go even towards the 20th of August here. And it's not really until we reach the 21st, 22nd of August that the GFS is printing out any sort of measurable precipitation. And that, like I say, is concerning. Bearing in mind there's a couple of sites in the southern portion of England that didn't record any rainfall during the month of July, and I'm assuming may have not recorded any rainfall in August so far. So, of course, this very, very dry environment across the north of France and across the southern half of the UK. And by the way, I've not mentioned France. France is seeing a crazy lack of rainfall as well. In fact, if you notice here, if we continue to play through this sequence here, France doesn't get any rainfall at all, even beyond the period here of the 10 days, or should I say, right up until the 22nd, 23rd of August. There is no measurable rainfall seen by the GFS, and like I say, that is very concerning indeed. If you notice here, this is the 500 millibar geopotential height anomalies for the GFS ensemble, and you can see here as we play through the loop, high pressure becomes the dominant player through the second half of the weekend and in through next week. And it's as we play through this sequence here, look at the persistency in that area of high pressure, stopping rainfall from penetrating southern portions of the British Isles, northern portions of France. We've got a thundery area of low pressure that does start to develop off Iberia. We need to keep an eye on that, of course, but it looks as if anything, that gets kind of pushed out to the west here. So it looks as if just high pressure remains the dominant player all the way through into the second half of August here. Notice here that the area of high pressure, by the way, starts to kind of shift westwards here over the Atlantic. And what that would do is it would draw your attention to that trough over Scandinavia. We may start to see winds coming in more from a northerly direction. And remember in yesterday's video, I highlighted the fact that we do see a surge of heat coming in during the course of next week. It looks the middle and the latter half of next week looks to be the hottest period coming up. But it's then followed by some members indicating high retrogrades to the west over the Atlantic, and allows practically a northerly discharge of Arctic air down over the British Isles here. And there is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to the solution. Once you start getting beyond 7 days or so, it's really a guessing game. But it's interesting as we play through this loop. You can see here the negative, or should I say neutral heights at 500 millibars. So that could be a trough actually, trying to show up close to the British Isles here, with the strongest heights to the west out over the Atlantic here. So that is quite interesting to see, for the time frame. Looking at the precipitation here, and this is the all important one. So this is the 7-day precipitation anomalies here, and you can see this consistency in lack of rainfall with high pressure dominating the pattern here. Really remarkable, actually, the persistency in this. So this is the upcoming 7 days, firmly drier than normal. The 6 to 12 day is firmly drier than normal, and even the 10 to 16 is showing drier than normal here, and this takes us out to the period of the 22nd of August. So very concerning. The fact that it's the GFS ensemble means it's all the models combined here to print out this rather dry and dusty scenario. 2-meter temperature anomalies here. The upcoming 5 days looks like this here. So we've got a warmer than normal British Isles, Ireland, and of course much of Iberia and France. The 6 to 10 day, as you can see here, that is the warmest period here coming up. And I would say really Thursday, Friday looks as if it's going to be the warmest days according to the latest model runs anyway. And then as we go to the 11 to 15, the modelling is hinting at some sort of a northerly component to the flow in the mid and low levels of the atmosphere, with high pressure over the Atlantic here. So a kind of negative NAO signal, if you will. But it's interesting here because I've been looking quite a lot this summer at the Madden-Julian oscillation. And of course, when we've seen the heat surge during the middle portion of July, we've seen some very strong orange colours representing sinking air over the Atlantic and over the British Isles, extending from Africa northwards here. And that certainly looks as if it's coming back into play once again, particularly during the course of next week. So that would favour the potential for heat coming into the British Isles. So as we play it through the loop, you can see that those oranges start to appear. But you also notice actually that the modelling itself is starting to kind of pull away from the strong oranges. That could be an indicator that the heat surge that we get during next week, it may last for several days where the temperature reaches the low 30s, for example. But beyond that period, we could see the focus of high pressure shifting over the Atlantic here. And notice here towards the second half of the period, the second half of the month, that is, you start to see that the GFS ensemble is starting to show the sinking, large scale sinking over the Atlantic and extending up towards the British Isles towards the end of the month here. So that may indicate that we see a heat surge coming in next week. Then it retreats, but do we then see the potential for another surge of warmth towards the end of the month? That is, of course, something worth paying attention to here. But the lack of rainfall is incredible. And of course, when you see dry ground and an atmosphere conducive for high pressure, generally speaking, you're talking about some pretty warm conditions here. Finally, looking at the GFS, this is the maximum temperatures here as we go through the next week to 10 days. So you can see here that with temperatures are fairly suppressed at the moment here, with below normal temperatures across much of the British Isles, with the exceptions of the south, of course. The very driest areas are, of course, seeing the very warmest temperatures here. So as we play through the loop, you can see here temperatures subdued, northern England, much of Wales, all of Scotland, of course, and across Ireland and the Republic as well here. And as we play into the course of next week, you start to see the 30s appearing here, extending all the way from the south coast up towards the Birmingham area, possibly close to Manchester as well. As you can see here, up towards even the Leeds area, we're seeing a 30 Celsius. How warm it gets remains to be seen, but it could potentially see the temperatures of 32, 33 Celsius, I think. Certainly nowhere near on par with what we've seen back during the month of July here. Temperatures into the mid to 20s, possibly even edging into the upper 20s, even across the central belt of Scotland, all depends on the overall scenario and the finer ingredients here as they come together. Looking at the overview chart here for Europe and the Atlantic here, important players that we need to pay attention to is that area of low pressure that develops off the west coast of Iberia. That is the type of setup that we had that they helped, kind of almost draw in that extreme heat across England and even across southeastern Scotland during that day that was seeing 40 degrees in England and 34.8 in Scotland here. 37.1, of course, in Wales as well. 33.0, the hottest day in Ireland since I think it was 1887. So just amazing stuff. But the high pressure, as you can see here, is stretched out from near the Azores all the way to the southern portions of Scandinavia. As you can see here, early portion of next week, there's that area of low pressure near Iceland, and of course we've got an area of low pressure close to Spain as well. But it's as we press through to the second half of the week, we're keeping our eyes on that trough, extending from Portugal out into the Atlantic Ocean here. The movement of that area of high pressure, do we see that centre moving east? Do we see that area of low pressure over Iberia left north? That would then pull the core of hottest air 850 up into the British Isles, and then therefore you could see temperatures even warmer than what I've made mention of in today's video. So we'll certainly keep an eye on that as we go through the next several days. Thanks for watching. As always, I do appreciate it. Please drop a comment below. If you haven't already done so, hit that subscribe button, and we'll continue to watch this pattern as we go forward. And if you enjoyed today's content, please give me a thumbs up as well. So hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll be hopefully back again tomorrow with more. Bye for now.